All right, we are back. It has been 1 week since the league has launched, and I wanted to give some updates. I wanted to talk about strategies that I've been doing, strategies that have done well, strategies that have done not so well, and yeah, just talk a little bit about the league. I didn't end up streaming a lot this league. To be honest, I started on the Blade Vortex, and I got a little bit bored. And then on top of that, my girlfriend had surgery, some some pretty major surgery, and so I wanted to be able to be there for her if she needed me. So I have not been streaming too much this league. But the short and sweet of it is you got strong boxes, and then on top of that, you got Legion. Those are your two best. I was doing Legion yesterday, and I was making around 20 divines an hour. And then, you obviously have strong boxes. A big reason I'm making this video is because I wanted to talk about the Ziggurat boss fight. And I'll go into the Legion stuff here in a bit too, so you can see the layout for that and see how you can run that for some pretty big profits if you're tired of boxes. But Ziggurat is an incredible map to run for a couple of reasons, especially on this build. One, it's open. It's an open layout for your specters, which is really nice. And then two, it drops the best fragments of all the bosses. Now, a lot of people really hate this boss, which is understandable. It can be really confusing at first and really annoying. But if you make a few small changes to your character, and then you also learn a couple of the core parts of the fight, this is like the easiest fight in the game. In the background here, right before I got off, I just hit screen record last 15 minutes or whatever. And I'm showing the last map that I did. This is a pretty average map. The reason I'm showing is because another reason people really dislike this map is because they think it takes forever due to this boss. Excuse my coughing. I didn't realize my mic was on or that I was going to be recording the last 15 minutes. But anyways, as you'll see from this, my average map time on this with the breach done, as well as all the boxes opened and the boss killed, is around 5 minutes, right? This is my pretty average map. Sometimes it'll be 4.5 minutes. If I get a stream of monsters and the box opens like 3 or 4 times, it might take like 6 minutes. But pretty average to hit around the 5 minute mark. The map is still very quick, and you make a lot of your currency back. Let's talk about the fragments real quick. All right, so Ziggurat has a preferential drop rate on the reality fragment and the devouring fragment and the reverent fragment, as opposed to its popular counterpart, Fortress, which drops Dudu Kaka. The reason people run the Fortress is because it has the barrels, and monsters aren't dropping loot this league, and the barrels probably account for, I don't know, 20 to 40% of the loot of this map, I would guess. Abomination is also good for a build. Pretty open layout for the specters and drops the reality fragment. Sanctuary is also good, but I don't love it so much because of all of the small walls and pillars that block projectiles. It makes it a little bit annoying, but it is another good map, and I've run a shit ton of them. But if we take a look at the prices of these fragments, the Ziggurat map itself costs 50 chaos, and then we get the reality fragment and the devouring fragment, which sells for 25C for this. You pretty much get this just about every time. And then these have dropped a little bit. They were at 105. And then these are at 104. And you get one of these basically every single map, and you get this pretty much every single map. Sometimes you won't get one of these, but other maps you'll double them up, so it ends up being around every single map. So just from that alone, you make almost half a divine in profit just from running the Ziggurat map, and that really helps curb the cost of the containment Scarab. You can also see my engineering orbs in here, rolling strong boxes. I was doing it on like day 3 and 4. Wretched Defilers is like one of the best strong box rollers in the game, just because your specters are killing everything. You don't have to worry about any of the monsters. You can just focus solely on rolling the boxes, and you do improve your profits by quite a bit out of each map. I would say on average it takes me like 7 minutes instead of like 5 to 6 to roll the boxes. You can do it very quickly. I guess I should talk about if you want to roll the boxes, what you should look for. I actually sent this to a friend last night, so I can just copy and paste it over. But basically, you're looking for, if the box is not Arcanist or Diviners, then just make it rare so you get some more monsters out of it. And they also drop a little bit of loot as well, some Scarabs and shit, and random Chaos Orbs. So I just make them rare. If it is Arcanist, I roll for 10 additional items, 10 plus additional items, or 5 items plus some quantity percent. I do not like just rolling quantity percent. It seems to me like a lot of the boxes have a bad core amount of drops, like 2 to 4 drops or something. And so if you increase the quantity percent only, then it seems like they only drop like 8 items. Some drop a little bit more than that, but on average, I just don't like rolling only that. I'd rather roll for additional items. And then if I get a low items, I want it with quantity of percent. But yeah, I don't roll it alone. For diviners, I'm just looking for 2 good things: 10 additional items and currency cards, 10 additional items and unique cards, or additional currency and unique cards. And then I'll do also additional items and quantity of items. So yeah, you can really improve your profits of your map by rolling these. With the addition of the strong boxes being able to be rolled without your inventory open, this is actually kind of an okay way to run the map. I've done it for a few leagues now, 2 or 3, and I'll run it for like 20 or 30 maps and I get a little bit bored of it. But yeah, I think the last map I ran, I ended up dropping like 4 divines and 2 nurses and a reliquary key or something. The reliquary key probably came from the monsters, but yeah, every map's not going to look like that, but you will certainly see a lot more high value cards and divines and all that good stuff a lot more frequent if you are rolling your boxes. But just don't spend too much chaos on them, or else you kind of negate the cost of rolling them, right? Or negate the profits. I mean, sorry. All right, but into the Catarina fight and how to build the build around it. If you for first time you're seeing me or whatever, all the stuff I'm going to be referring to is the POBs on this video I did here. But I'm going to talk about this as if you have the mage blood and some of the other things I do. If you don't worry. Like I was doing Catarina on day 2 of the league with no gear. You can absolutely do this without a mage blood. You just got to get a little creative. But for now, I'm just going to talk about this as if you have this gear at this stage of the league, and then I'll go into some options if you don't. All right, now the biggest problem with the Catarina fight is the damage over time. That is why so many builds struggle to do this fight, is because she has phases, and during the phases there are non-damageable periods where a lot of builds that are on hit recovery or life leech based or things like that, they just fall over during that phase because they have no way to recover their HP as they're taking all of this damage over time. Our build has the exact same problem. However, we have some pretty easy options on how to fix that and make this fight an absolute breeze. Now, I mentioned during that POB guide that Global Defenses was your best in slot amulet for the Eyes of the Great Wolf, and that is true. However, there's like none in the market, and if one shows up, it's probably going to be way too expensive. So I also mentioned some other ones that were second and third best in slot. One of them being physical damage reduction. I believe that is one. I still haven't looked, but I think that is one. But this is my personal favorite, and that's regenerate 4% of life per second. We use that in combination with a regenerate 3% of life per second, with which through the mage blood ends up being like 6, 7, 8%. I don't know what it would be. And if you don't know where to get that flask, you can just craft it through your bench craft. So you probably won't find any on trade. And then on top of that, we just take a few nodes, these right here. And with that, we're going to be sitting around 968, and it'll jump up to 2,000 occasionally due to the every 4 seconds. And that alone is all you need. You can actually do it with less too, right? Like if you don't have the mage blood, even like 500 ES regeneration per second or something like that will make this fight so much easier. And of course, obviously, you're taking Zealot's Oath, so that all this life regeneration you're getting is applied to your energy shield. And if you are a little bit on the lower side, I actually should probably just be running this in general, but you can also take Soul of Arakali, which will reduce the fight's damage over time by another 10%, which can be very helpful. Real quick, these are the graphs I'm running. I'm sure I'll forget about this if I don't mention it while I think about it, but I'm just running increased chance for Ancient Wand Gifts for the uniques, minion damage, and then same thing. So, but I want to go into this Catarina fight. I think I have enough regen to just completely take out my specters off, and I can show you the phases and what's going on with the fight, so that you know what to dodge. There's only really a couple things you have to worry about, and it's very cluttery with the specters. So I'll take them off and see if I can just survive. Oh, and before I do, there's a couple other things I forgot to mention. Since I couldn't get the Global Defenses Amulet, I made some changes to the build. I don't know if this is in the POB, but I ended up going down here because I needed the extra socket since I ran through reservations. But since I don't have the global defenses, I was sitting somewhere around like 6k ES, which isn't quite enough. I was having problems tanking volatile cores, as well as like some other things. It just wasn't enough life. I was getting one shot occasionally. So I pulled out the cluster, I took off flesh and stone, and I went a little heavier into some of the energy shield nodes here, to get me up to around 7k. At this rate, you're pretty good. You should be able to tank most volatile cores, at least one or two of them. Sometimes they'll still one shot you on a rare occasion, but for the most part, you can tank one. Um, and box explosions and all that good stuff. On top of that, just a higher ES pool is better. I know if you've played this build and you have negative 200% lightning resist, you've had the rare modifier with the blue ring around it that does lightning damage that just absolutely melts you. Now this life regeneration setup will help combat that tremendously, but the other way to combat it is just by having a large enough energy shield pool to be able to react to it in time so that you can get out of the way before it just absolutely melts you. But yeah, this is the change to the tree. I'm getting the endurance charges from the cluster here, or I'm sorry, the timeless jewel. It's just a double minion damage and one endurance charge on hit. This is a fucking insane jewel. It's crazy to me that like everyone's just looking for damage, damage, damage. There's so many good timeless jewels here and here, and there's not really that good here, but they're all over the place. This thing is one divine, right? 154, 180. Grab them while you can. There's probably more. This is just looking at Victario, but there's Kadiro and Caspiro as well. Um, but on top of that, you also have mana reservation efficiency. You have spell and block chance. You have increased effect of auras. There's so many good timeless jewels that you can get in combination with your minion damage. You can even get like 50 cold resist and 50 fire resist to help gear your character better. Like there's so many good ones. But in general, I do prefer to get the endurance charge because it frees up a jewel slot, and we're very tight on the jewel slots. As far as the Watcher's Eyes goes, if you can't find this, just get reduced critical strikes. I think is your most important, personally. Um, that in combination with this pretty much makes you crit immune, which is very helpful. But aside from that, like my gear is pretty ass. I picked this up for like a divine. I picked this up for like 50 chaos. I haven't even rolled +2 specters on my boots. Things are like 50 chaos. This is like 50 chaos, 100 chaos. This was like 20 divines, I think. I made this for like 5 divines early league, 2 divines. Like aside from the mage blood, this character is like fucking 20 or 30 divines. Like it is nowhere near what I would have this character if I had focused on it. Like I said, I'm having a pretty big identity crisis on what I want to play, so all my currency is split across 3 characters right now. But anyways, oh, I also I came out of the spiritual command just for 5 extra points to help boost up the energy shield. You don't need a lot of speed while running boxes because most of the time is spent just waiting for the box to open. So you don't need this. You can still run these in like 5 minutes without it. All right, I'm gonna have to kill my specters and come back into the map a lot. So just because you won't be able to see the fight very clearly if I don't. Um, but yeah, they're gonna just kill her really quick. So on this first part, she does that right there, which will kill you if you stand still. Never stand still on this part, because she'll shotgun you with those little skulls. So as long as you're moving, you're fine. Aside from that, there's that giant skull that just came out, and that's what can kill you. Um, but yeah, just keep moving, and the only thing you're really looking for during this phase is that big skull to come out. When that big skull comes out, you need to move. You guys just saw it, yeah, right there. Just stay away from it. Be careful with increased area of effect on this fight, because that skull is like very, very hard to dodge. I personally roll out of increased area of effect just because of that. But as long as you can dodge that skull, you're fine in this phase. So we'll phase her real quick. She has 2 different phases. Well, 3, I guess, technically. So that's your first phase, dodge skull, right? Um, on the second phase, she'll bring out these guys, and then I don't know what any of them do. They're not very threatening at all. But when she brings out the first one, she just has like this little AoE explosion. You can tank a lot of them unless they're close together like that. You want to get out of the center. Like you can tank a few, and you'll be okay. But if you stand really close to the center, they can shotgun you. She has a scythe swipe. I also don't think that can kill me. Um, I don't know what this guy does at all, but you can see just a little bit of regen, and this fight is beyond easy. And add in your Spectre's leeching for you, which is like 90% of your recovery. and you're like, it's impossible to die during this phase. Most of the times you're going to die on this fight are in the transition phases. If you don't have regen, where your specters are no longer leeching for you, and you're just kind of sitting there taking dot damage from these beams or the shit that's on the ground. There's so much degen in this fight. But anyways, we'll kill him now, and we'll move on to the next part. I don't even have Zealotry on. Build melts. All right. I think she adds in the skulls now. Uh, Hopefully, we'll see. Dodge that. Move my portal so I don't actually click it. I'm looking for when she gives birth to a bunch of little skulls, but it might be the next phase and not this one. Might have been okay to leave my specters up. Yeah, it is the next one. Okay, we'll kill her again real quick. My bad. I only have two more portals, so hopefully I can show the rest of this fight with what I got here. Oh, she just did it right there. Okay, so this. All these little baby skulls, you just need to run around and pop them. And you see how she phased into this transition? She's not damageable right here. So if you're not running regen, like a lot of life on hit builds or, leech builds, this part kills you because you have to pop those things. If you don't, oh, hold on, I gotta dodge that shit. If you don't pop those, they'll hatch into like these little baby minions that crawl, and like one of them is enough to kill you. And you can see that she hatches like 1,000 of them. So you have to make sure you kill them. So yeah, that's part of the other phase there. And then now we're on her like little mini boss phase, and the only thing we're looking out for here is she's already done it a couple of times, but you'll see her start to teleport around right there, and then she goes and stops the big slam. She like lifts her weapon in the air for like 5 seconds. Once you notice it, it's impossible to miss, but you need to move away from that. That'll one shot you a lot, and that is really the only dangerous part. Yeah, this right here, and then boom, she lifts up and slams on the ground. It's like a shaper slam, and it will kill you a lot. When I'm doing this fight and there's like all the chaos and the specters are shooting all kinds of shit, the only thing that I'm looking at is that teleport, and I'm waiting to see that animation where she lifts that weapon in the air like that, and then I move out of the way. The more time she teleports, the bigger the AoE will be and the harder the hit will be. But as you can see, with no leech at all from my specters, which is 90% of the recovery on this build, you can still just sit in this fight without any problems. And some looks like I tanked it there. I probably don't have any damage mods on the map, but if you roll like Viz's extra Ellie or something like that, then it'll absolutely one shot you. So that's the only thing you're looking for during this fight, or during this section. And with a little bit of regen, like I said, no leech, you can still just fucking sit in this fight forever. That's why in that guide I said survivability is more important than damage. Because if you build this right, this fight's like very easy. But that's it. That's pretty much the whole fight. You just got to look out for the big skull in the beginning. You got to look out for when she gives birth to the skelly babies, and you got to look out for that slam right there. And just move out of the way when she goes to slam. See if did I kill him yet? Oh, I didn't kill him. Shit. Well, I was gonna I'll just let her kill me. Oh, I blocked it. Lucky me. I was gonna show what happens if you don't pop all those little skeleton heads. It's basically the whole arena gets flooded with with skeleton heads, and then they explode on you. You can't shield charge through them. You have like a quick second before they pop. It's like you kind of got to shield charge and then frost blink. Like they pop very quick, but in an emergency situation where you let a few get up, you do need to be paying attention to them, and you need to like run them over to pop them. Let me see if I can find a video on my on one of my old streams here. All right, I found a small clip. I actually do the fight well this one. I was kind of looking for one where I don't do it well. Maybe I'll keep digging. But again, before anyone says, "Oh, well, you have a mage blood," this is day 2 of the league with one divining gear. I promise you, if you build it right, this fight is easy. Okay. But this is the skulls again. You see, she just like sits still for a second and throws them all out, and they just start flashing. And once she does that little AOE there, then they're poppable, and you just run around and open them all up. And this phase is terrible if you don't have regen. Like it'll kill you almost every time. So I stand still and I almost get shotgun there. Oops. Okay, here we go. I actually handled this pretty good. So there's a couple skulls here that I don't see or I miss or whatever, and you can see they hatch into these little babies, and you just hit them and then shield charge away. So in case you don't pop them, Um, you can just run into them and get away. And I think I blocked a lot of those because those probably should have killed me. Um, but certainly, if you let the whole arena get flooded with them, they'll be a big problem. Um, so yeah, that's that phase right there. Explained as best as I can. Um, just pop the skulls, and if you see the babies hatch, try and hit them and move away. That was a really poor effort. You should shield charge through them, or at least like pop them and dash. I don't know why I'm not dying. Maybe there's no. Oh, I was probably rolling it really light on the mods on the map because it was early league. But you put some like Fizz's Extra or some nasty mods, minus resist, monster pen. I don't know what kind of damage they do, but they're really lethal. But anyways, that's it. That's the whole fight. So if you don't have Mage Blood, we'll talk a bit about that. One of the reasons in the League Starter that I choose the shield that I do over the Aegis Aurora, people are like, well, the Aegis Aurora exists. Why don't you just use max cold resist and then, Sapphire Flask and then Purity of Ice in order to get your max res up? The reason I don't do that is because early League, for one, your armor is like 8,000. So, regenerate 2% of your armor when you block, let's say 8,000 plus 2%, you regen like 160 energy shield when you block. This shield kind of sucks ass unless you have a lot of armor, which you don't get until you get Mage Blood. Even now, it's probably not worth running, to be honest. I probably regen like 600 armor block, maybe 500. It's probably okay. But the reason I choose Rise of the Phoenix instead of the Aegis Aurora on a league start situation is specifically for this mod here, is because I know I'm going to be going to the Catarina Fight to farm the Wraith Lord, and I want as much regen as possible. And so this gives you the exact same effect, right? You still get the +5 max fire res, and instead of a Sapphire Flask, we run a Ruby Flask, and instead of Purity of Ice, we run a Purity of Fire, which you want this to be level 21 to get one additional max res, by the way. So if you're on a low budget, let's say this amulet gets bought up, let's say you don't have Mage Blood and you're like, well, I can't get all this regen, run that shield. You can take these here. You can get a little bit of life regen on your rings. You could probably find like a 200 life regen reflected ring with minus lightning res. I wouldn't be surprised if you could find that for like 50 chaos. And then you can also go down here and you can pick up some of this life regen. Hardy's a very strong life regen node, which will also give you access to another endurance charge. You just got to get a little creative. Add vitality in. There's lots of things you can do. Like I said, I do this fight on like one divine, so you don't need a Mage Blood to do it. It obviously makes it much easier, but you have options. I feel myself starting to talk fast. I think my caffeine's kicking in. Okay, Catarina Fight's out of the way. That's how you do it. Let's talk about some strategies that I've tried this league and what you can do to kind of catch up. And yeah, so Bojangles. I've had, like I said, an Identity Crisis I wanted to play. I ended up making a Pathfinder. This guy still has like 200 divines and gear on him. I had to sell the Headhunter for the Mage Blood, but we were doing very well this league. And what I was using him for initially, I made him as a Pathfinder. I tried Heist with 600% movement speed. It's like, I don't know, 10 divine an hour. I did it like day 4 or 5 of the league. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, I was running lockpicking contracts. They're really bad. They might even be like 5 divine an hour. Blueprints were kind of okay. All in all, with like a hyper efficient build, I just think Heist is kind of trash. Aside from that, I tried lab running. That also felt really bad. It could have been a skill issue. I think it was around 10 divine an hour. But with how horrible lab running is, man, that would have to pay me like 50 divine an hour for me to even think about doing it. Like, it is not paying nearly enough. So I think lab running is out for me personally. And then aside from that, I tried beast farming, which did go pretty good. I ended up screwing myself because instead of going for blueprints and contracts, I went for with like Heist and a couple of Scarabs. I went for settlers and ore deposits to try to find the Svalin on top of the beasts, and this paid pretty well. If I would have gone contracts, it would have paid really well. But since I uh, went settlers, I ended up finding I think 11 Starfall craters out of 200 maps. Um, and you spec into the Verisium node, rare varieties and then more common Verisium so that you can turn into a Starfall crater. Yeah, I found 11 Starfall craters and 0 Svalins, so it ended up nuking my profits. Like I spent so much on the ore scarabs and rolling it on the map device that it ended up only being like 10 divine an hour. But I think with a really fast character, you're probably looking at like 15. divine an hour doing contracts, blueprints, and beasts, but it is a bit of a weird strategy. You got to learn what the beasts look like, and I'm not sure if Wretched Defilers would be able to make those kind of profits at that speed, but maybe you could probably get pretty close to 1 minute maps. Actually, you can because I've done it before. But we'll talk about the winner. The winner is Legion. So I was doing Legion of Eternal Conflict. This is 20 divines an hour. Now it is with like a Giga Tornado Shot build, which is specialized for it. But I I haven't done this in a long time. I thought that you could just like keep infinitely scaling the amount of rewards that you get on the Legion monsters, but I think they cap it too. So I'm pretty sure a lot of builds have access to this. But you're gonna run Legion Scarab of Eternal Conflict, Legion Scarab of Officers, and then 3 Legion Scarabs, and then my tree looks like this. I don't know if this is the best tree. It's just what I picked. I went for some like Scarabs and tier 17 maps and tier 16.5 Originator Dune maps on top of the Legions. I'll run one of these real quick with the Wretched Defilers and see what it looks like in comparison to the Tornado Shot. But yeah, the Sergeants are clumped together a lot, so I couldn't see if they ever had 3 rewards, but I don't think they did. I think they max out at 2, so that would give access to a lot more builds to be able to pull 20 Divine an hour out of this. But yeah, that's what I would do if I was bored of strong boxes and I had a strong character. Shit, that's right. I wanted to try a Dunes real quick to see how the Wretched Defiler held up in it. I haven't tried with Wretched Defiler yet. So we'll run a Dunes map real quick and see how the build performs. And I don't know, to be honest, if the build will be good at it or not. But after doing it with the Tornado Shot and seeing that you only need 2 reward tiles, I feel like it might be fine. So we'll pop a Legion real quick. You're just going to be going... yeah, it looks like it's going to be kind of mediocre. I mean, I'm able to get... it would be okay. It's not going to be as good as Tornado Shot. You're just looking for like 2 rewards on each of these guys. Yeah, these all have 2, so I'll probably go back and then try and get some on these guys here. Yeah, sure. It'd be okay. It's not as good as like a build that's made for Legion, obviously, but this would still be pretty solid, I think, if you're bored of boxes. I would guess somewhere around 15 Divine an hour, give or take. It's not going to be as insane as a Headhunter build. But yeah, I think this would be fine. If you're bored of boxes and you're looking for something else to do. Try another one real quick. There might be some better supports too, like maybe lesser multiple projectiles or something like that. Could do better here. I mean, yeah, they're getting quite a few rewards. I mean, it's pretty solid. I'm doubling up a lot of these. They do get a little deadly. These Ornate Incubators are like 5 chaos each. They're insane right now. Although I would not sell them because I drop the vines off them like every other time I apply them. Stack decks are like 1.5 chaos. The Legion itself is like dirt cheap. I think it's like 4 or 5 chaos to open. Yeah, pretty solid. Yeah, this is another strat. On a Headhunter build, it's definitely 20 Divine an hour. On this, it's probably 15. I've said that already, but yeah, Legion, very good. I can't tell. Is he getting 3 rewards, or is the guy next to him getting 1? I can't really tell. I think they can only get 2 each. You do want a pretty decent build for this. These guys get pretty deadly the more you kill them. Yeah, you drop a lot of Originator maps and a lot of tier 17s running this. Get a Divine Orb, easy. Probably 5 or 6 minute maps. It actually might be kind of nice on the Wretched Defilers because one of the more annoying parts about running it on a Headhunter build is all the looting, whereas with specters you can just kind of loot as you go. Um, but yeah, I think these maps cost like 20 chaos to open up, and I've certainly made, more than 20 chaos back in the couple of minutes I've been in here. Not my ideal build for Legion, but certainly doable. All right, this video is going to be another Divine Orb, easy money. Yeah, this video is going to be forever long if I do this whole thing though, so I'm going to cut this short. But I think you get the point. You can make an absolute killing off of Legion right now. So, all right, boys. If I didn't have a strong character, well, if you're starting the league with nothing, then I would just do Blight. I always recommend Blight because you can do Blight naked. You put on some rings with Chilling Towers and Empowering Towers, and or I'm sorry, Chilling Towers and Meteor Towers or Empowering Towers both work, and you can literally take off your gear, and as long as you have just that, and you can dodge chaos falling from the sky, then you can make 5 to 10 divine an hour on literally any build. Um, I'm not going to do a whole guide on that. Just every creator has made a guide on Blight. Just look around, you can find one. But if you have absolutely nothing and you're like, dude, I just need like one divine, like go run Blight. Now, if I had a few divines and I had the character kind of built, but it still wasn't like I wasn't comfortable in tier 6 or tier 17s with it, but I was looking for the next step up from something basic like Blight, I think cheap strong boxes would probably be what I would do. I think it's got to be pretty good. I want to take a look at a couple of things with it because some people like don't really understand where the profits are coming from and like how cheap strong boxes are working. Like we're all used to the dopamine of just like seeing divines and all these big cards, but it's not really how cheap strong boxes work. Um, so I actually had a friend send me a screenshot because he told me this last night. He was like, "Dude, I'm getting nothing," and I was like, "Dude, send me a screenshot of your inventory after. I'll just run it real quick and I'll show you." All right, so if I was going to run cheap strong boxes, it would be the exact same strong box strat, except we're going to run 8 mods, so we'll come out of Chiseled Perfection. I'm probably not going to drop that many Scarabs with this on a regular T16 map, so we'll come out of some of these Scarab nodes, and I'll just take some increased tier 1 to 15 map nodes. I take all of them, actually. Yeah, I'll do something like that. Take out another Scarab node. Oh, not that one. Take out another Scarab node. And I would not roll strong boxes on this because you're going to lose the 15% chance to be openable again, and I think you'll just end up spending more chaos than you make back. But basically, you're going to be looking for, lucky drops out of the strong boxes, as well as tier 17 maps and 16.5 maps, and the occasional Scarab and whatever. So we'll run one of these real quick. You're going to go to TFT. You're going to go over to 8 mod corrupted maps, 8 mod maps, and then just buy these dunes. There's like everyone's selling them. You could probably get away with random, honestly. You'd probably be more beneficial to buy random and then just throw away the LE reflect ones. You'd probably end up saving money like that, I think, but if you want to spend 10 chaos each, go for it. And then you can give them a regex and make these much easier. But yeah, just message the guy your regex on what you don't want on the map and buy like 100 of these or something like that. And then you're just going to run 3 regular strong boxes, a potency, and a discernment. And if we take a look at these, I think these are so cheap now. This is why this strategy would work. Like it is all kind of based on discernment. Okay, 5 chaos each, very manageable. If discernment's more expensive, the strategy doesn't really work. But let's see, ambushes, a chaos each. So, and then I know the other one's cheap. Yeah, so what is that? 3, 4.5. You're looking at like 10 plus the map, somewhere around like 18 to 20 chaos a map. Very easy to make this back, but even with that, people are still they're still they still feel like they're not getting anything because they're not getting all the dopamine from um, lots and lots of divines that you would get off of running like tier 17. But that's not really, your investment cost is so low, you don't have to make a ton back from these. Um, so I'll clear this real quick and I'll show you my inventory. All right, so we finished the map. It took about 2.5 minutes. It's a little long. I was a bit slow. I would aim for like a minute is great if you're doing cheap boxes, but 2 minutes is like If you're on a slower build, um, you know, it takes you as long as it takes. But um, so we get a 6 link. We'll sell for some fusings. Now you can see I didn't get anything crazy, right? It's all just a bunch of junk and it looks like shit. This is already in my inventory, I think. But if you take a look at all this stuff and you like break it down individually, so we get 6 chaos from that, 7, 8 chaos. That's like 9 chaos. You can sell these maps for 1 chaos. Um, so that's like 10, 15 chaos. The alterations are 17, 18 chaos. You're not going to get that every map. This is like another chaos and a half. All in all, it's like 25, 30 chaos, maybe a little bit more. So you're like, oh, 10 chaos, not very good, but it's strong boxes. So if you go really fast and you open a lot of them, eventually you're going to drop some big divination cards and you're going to drop, um, the divine dupes and all that stuff. Like this map cost me 20 chaos. I made 10 chaos off it. I'll probably make 10 chaos off every single one that I do just through the small shit. You're obviously not going to sell it as this, but you let it build up, and after like 50 to 100 maps, you sell it all off. And yeah, you just like go as quick as you can, and you open enough Arcanus and Diviners that you're going to eventually hit a jackpot and get some divines or fucking a doctor or all the good divination cards you can get. I've done this strat many a times. Last week I did it and it was like 20 divine an hour. Like, and I ended up duping a Hinokors and an apothecary in 1 hour, which isn't going to happen to you. That was like really lucky. But my point is, this cheap ass strategy, if you go really quick and you do it enough, if you're on a budget character, like you can end up making insane profit off this with a little bit of luck, and you never end up losing money. So that would be my recommendation. If you're a little broke or you can't do T17s, I would start Blight to get a few divines, and then I would probably go into cheap strong boxes at this point of the league, and then yeah, you just kind of blast that until some big stuff drops, and it gives you the opportunity to buy some gear to get into tier 17s. But anyways, I think that's the video. I haven't started editing this yet, so it's probably going to be like 30 minutes long, but hopefully that was helpful to some of you guys. And yeah, I probably won't be making too much content this league unless next week's patch is really good. But yeah, that's where we're at. Um, yep. Good luck with your league. Oh, yeah, maybe from recording, maybe I'll actually get the Mage Blood. I got quite a few Ancient Wand gifts on average since I rolled for them on the graphs. Incoming Mage Blood, here we go. Oh, Store Shroud. That's terrible. Price still has value though. One day.